Welcome. My name's Jen Lepore. I'm the marketing team coordinator here at Custom Processing Services, and today, Business Unit Manager Willow Slusser is stopping by with more of a comprehensive analytical lab with the focus on how it benefits pharmaceuticals and environmental customers. So, Willow, thanks for joining us again.
Of course.
So, Willow, in a previous episode, we talked about your transition to running the analytical lab. And as you had some time to settle now into your new role, what would you consider particularly advantageous about the in-house capabilities for pharma and environmental customers?
One of the most advantageous things about our in-house capabilities is that we're set up to handle both pharmaceutical and environmental testing, among a ton of other things, but with precision and flexibility. So our pharma clients, we offer LC triple quad with MS and HPLC systems that allow for trace level quantification of active ingredients, impurities, and residual solvents, all with method development and validation aligned to regulatory expectation. And then for environmental customers, our ICP-MS and GC-MS instruments, they're optimized for multi-element and volatile compound analysis, helping us meet those tight detection levels and emerging contaminant requirements like PFAS or heavy metals in complex matrices. But what really sets us apart is our ability to pivot quickly, whether it's customizing a method for a unique matrix or validating according to ISO 17025, or even troubleshooting sample prep challenges. We're small and agile enough to move fast, but equipped with the same instrumentation and quality framework as much larger labs.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about the ISO 17025 accreditation. So our lab recently received that accreditation, which is great. So what does having it to signal to, say, a nutraceutical manufacturer, or really anyone in pharma or environmental spaces?
Yeah, so it signals to our clients that our lab operates to a globally recognized standard for testing. It means we've proven our methods are scientifically sound, our equipment is properly maintained and calibrated, and our staff are qualified and trained. But most importantly for our clients, it means they can trust our data. When you're formulating a supplement, releasing a pharmaceutical product, or even monitoring contaminants in soil or water, you need results that are not just precise, but defensible. So ISO 17025 gives our customers confidence that if regulators ever come knocking, the data we provide will stand up to any scrutiny.
And let's be honest, you can't really talk about the pharma and the environmental industries without mentioning compliance because they're so heavily regulated. Is compliance easier to navigate for our customers because we have the in-house lab?
Oh, absolutely. So instead of juggling multiple vendors or waiting weeks for results from an outside lab, we can handle testing directly under one roof with full traceability. So that means fast turnaround, direct communication, and more control over the process. So for regulated industries like pharma, nutraceuticals, or environmental, this saves time and reduces risk.
So along the same lines, do most of the challenges customers bring you resolve around compliance?
A lot of them do, especially in pharma and nutraceuticals and like the environmental stuff. Compliance is at the core of nearly every challenge that we see, honestly. Customers might come to us needing to meet a new regulatory guideline, respond to an auditor's findings, or validate a method with a unique matrix. Sometimes they're even launching a new product and need help making sure all the testing lines up with the required specifications. But what's interesting is that even when a request sounds purely technical, like developing a method or running a metal screen, it usually ties back to compliance in the end.
So are there any other issues that come to mind as either ones you see a lot or the ones that you truly find unique?
Definitely, yeah. So beyond compliance, one of the most common issues we see is uncertainty around method suitability. So especially when customers are working with a new material or a complex matrix, they'll ask, can this even be tested? Or will the results be reliable in this form? And that's where our team really adds value. We're not just a testing lab, we help figure out how to test it. And then as for unique challenges, we've seen everything from trying to quantify trace actives in sticky plant extracts to helping a customer monitor elemental contamination in a food grade enzyme blend. Every industry has its curveballs. But the good news is because we have flexibility in our instrumentation and in-house method development, we're able to take a lot of those I don't think anyone else can do this type of projects and actually find a path forward.
Great. So let's talk environmental customers for a minute. I would imagine now more than ever, there are continual shifts in what's needed and focused on. So, can you tell us a little bit of what you're currently seeing?
Environmental testing is evolving rapidly, and we're seeing several key trends right now, I would say. And like the biggest main focus is on PFAS or forever chemicals. These substances are under intense scrutiny due to their persistence in the environment and potential health risks. While the EPA has set strict limits on PFOA and PFOS, it recently announced plans to roll back regulations on other PFAS compounds and extend compliance deadlines to 2031. So, this regulatory uncertainty makes it challenging for environmental clients to stay compliant and protect the public. Beyond PFAS, there's a growing concern about microplastics and other emerging contaminants. There was a recent study that has found microplastics in human bloodstreams. So it was raising questions about their long-term health effects. And additionally, the EPA is considering reorganizing its chemical risk assessment programs, which could impact how new contaminants are evaluated and regulated.
Oh, wow. So, are there any particular concerns they bring to you?
Yes, especially with the landscape shifting so fast, environmental customers are coming to us with very specific concerns. We've had people ask, can you help us identify which PFAS compounds we actually need to be testing for? Or what's the best way to prep these samples to avoid contamination? There's a lot of confusion, especially as the regulations keep evolving. We're also hearing about microplastics and trace metals that weren't being watched as closely, even as of a couple years ago. So clients are asking, do you have a method already, or do you need to develop something new? And many are looking for support beyond just testing. Like they ask for guidance on what's relevant and what's defensible and what's going to keep them ahead of compliance issues. So we're helping customers understand why it matters and how to stay proactive as expectations continue to shift.
I mean, you're talking about changes several times with what you had just mentioned. So, do you say CPS has any unique offerings that can help the environmental customers overcome sometimes these massive, rapid changes?
Yeah, like I said before, what makes our lab stand out is how quickly we can pivot, especially when regulations or testing priorities are shifting. We're not waiting on external labs to develop or validate a method. If a new contaminant becomes a concern or if regulatory limits tighten, we can move fast to adapt our testing and keep our clients in compliance. And we also design our methods with flexibility in mind, which means when a customer suddenly needs to test a different matrix or hit a lower detection limit, we're able to do that.
So, let's get into instrumentation here. So, advanced analysis requires state of the art instrumentation, and our lab is equipped with all sorts of instruments. So, can you help us better understand what these instruments are and what the importance of them are?
Sure. That is a loaded question, so it's going to be a long answer. Um, so, advanced testing really does depend on the right tools for sure. And our lab is equipped with some of the most powerful instruments available for chemical analysis. So, we have our HPLC or high performance liquid chromatography. It's great for separating and quantifying components in a liquid sample, things like active ingredients, degradation products, or residual solvents. It's widely used in both pharma and environmental testing for its accuracy and versatility. And then there's our LC triple quad MS, which is triple quadruple mass spectrometry. And this takes HPLC to the next level. So this system is ideal when you need ultra sensitive detection. So think parts per trillion levels. It's especially useful for complex matrices or when regulations require extremely low detection limits, like for PFAS or trace level drug impurities. And then we have our GCMS, or gas chromatography mass spectrometry. And this is another powerful tool we use. It's best for volatile compounds, things like solvents, pesticides, or VOCs in air and water. It separates them based on how they behave as gases and then identifies them with precision. And then we have our ICP-MS, or inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry. And this is our go-to for metals and elemental analysis. So whether you're monitoring heavy metals in supplements or trace elements in a water sample, ICP-MS gives you both sensitivity and range down to, again, the parts per trillion. And we also have an XRF, which is X-ray fluorescence. This allows us to analyze solid materials without digestion. It's especially useful for screening inorganic content in powders, tablets, soil, or mineral-based materials. And then we also offer particle size analysis, which is especially important when evaluating the consistency or performance of powders. And lastly, we have an elemental analyzer. So it allows us to measure total nitrogen and protein in a sample. And that's particularly useful in environmental testing or nutrient profiling and some pharma raw material assessments.
Wow, that's quite a list there.
Yes.
So how do you think the tech can help with the compliance?
Each of our instruments is capable of meeting very specific regulatory requirements, especially when it comes to detection limits, accuracy, and traceability. So, for example, a customer might need to meet FDA limits for heavy metals in supplements or EPA limits for PFAS in water. Our instruments are sensitive enough to detect those compounds at the required levels, sometimes even well below the regulatory thresholds. That's essential because compliance isn't just about doing the testing, it's about proving that your results are valid and defensible. Also, because we operate under the ISO 17025 accreditation, every part of the process from calibration and method development and method validation to how results are reported, it's traceable and audit ready. So when our regulators ask for documentation or data packages, our clients have exactly what they need. So in short, the technology allows us to meet the technical specifications, and the systems around it ensure everything we do holds up to scrutiny. So it's really that combination is what is really supporting that compliance.
So how do you think the tech speed up studies these industries typically need or use? I'm thinking stability studies for pharma.
Sure, yeah. So by making the analytical side as efficient and reliable as possible, really. In pharma, for example, like the stability studies, they require repeated testing over time under different storage conditions. So with instruments like our HPLC or our LC triple quad MS, we can run highly precise, repeatable analysis quickly. So clients aren't waiting weeks for results each time a time point comes up. And this speed is especially valuable when timelines are tight, like when a client is prepping for a regulatory filing or working through a product launch. Because we're not starting from scratch, We don't need to ship samples all over the country. We help keep their studies and their progress on track.
So, are there any other advantages pharma and environmental customers can gain with the CPS lab?
Well, first, there's a direct access to our technical team. So you can get to talk to me. Um, we're not a black box lab. We don't just send samples and wait for a PDF. Our clients can actually talk through their challenges with scientists who understand the instrumentation and the regulatory landscape and the urgency behind the work. So we get it. And second, we offer flexibility, whether a customer needs a custom method or an unusual matrix validated or a fast turnaround on a tight deadline. We have the ability to adapt. That's not something every lab can say, especially when they're operating at a larger scale or outsourcing parts of the work. And finally, it's about trust. Because we operate under ISO 17025 and have all our core technologies in-house, we're able to provide reliable, traceable data that customers can stand behind.
Sure. So, obviously capturing data and results from the R&D and testing is fundamental for the lab. So, when, say, a plant manager receives a data package and from CPS for either standalone testing or part of a larger toll processing project, what decisions can be made very quickly based on the information?
Well, it gives them the clarity they need to make fast, informed decisions. For example, if it's an R&D batch or a trial run, they can quickly see if the material met target specs, things like purity, moisture content, particle size, or residual solvent levels. If it passed, they can move straight to scale up. If something's off, they can stop and adjust the process right away. There's no guessing, there's no waiting. In pharma or nutraceutical projects, the data might confirm that a raw material meets identity and safety standards, or that a blend is within their label claim, critical for product release. And in environmental work, it might confirm whether a material passes regulatory thresholds for metals, PFAS, VOCs, allowing immediate decisions on disposal, treatment, or whatever their next steps might need to be. Ultimately, our data packages are designed not just to meet compliance, but to give customers actionable insights that they can use right away.
So, what overall impact might these ready access to data have for the customers?
It definitely shortens decision-making cycles. It reduces production delays, and it lowers the risk of compliance issues. Instead of waiting days or weeks for answers, or worse, having to rework batches under unclear results, they have what they need to move forward with confidence. For pharma and nutraceutical clients, that could mean faster product releases or more efficient stability studies, like we spoke about. For environmental customers, it could mean quicker remediation decisions or faster responses to regulatory pressure. It also builds trust internally. When plant managers or quality teams have solid data in hand, it's much easier to align departments, justify next steps, and communicate with leadership or regulators. It's not just about getting numbers, it's about empowering better, faster decisions across the board.
Great. So this has been great, Willow, and I always enjoy our conversations and appreciate you taking time to stop by. And thank you to everyone for watching this month's Custom Processing Toll Manufacturer Minute. If you have any questions about the CPS Analytical Lab and how we can help you solve your pharmaceutical and environmental challenges, and also to achieve your goals, reach out to our team anytime, especially Willow. Also, be sure to subscribe to our CPS blog to rewatch or catch up on podcast episodes and get the latest news and insights from experts like Willow. And we'll catch you next time.